You're going to see a great show tonight.
You're telling me this is going to be the third time I've seen it.
I wouldn't miss this for anything.
Hello again, my friends. Thanks for joining me for another video. And if this is your first time here, a very warm welcome. I'm Lucy, your narrator. Before we get started, please kindly take a moment right now and click the subscribe button and notification bell so you can be notified of every time I upload a new video. And also please watch this video to the end to see the preview trailer and some behind the scenes photos. And also please check out my other videos in my playlist right here on my channel. And now I'd like to take a quick moment to give a shout out and to say thank you again to everyone that has donated to my channel. I really appreciate it. And if you're also someone that enjoys my work and would like to show your appreciation by helping support my channel in the form of a donation, please kindly consider any amount on my Patreon page or my PayPal account. You'll find the links down below. Your generosity will help me to continue bringing you more videos similar to this one. Thanks in advance. And if you haven't seen this movie, please know there will be some spoilers in this video. Well, my friends, we're finally here. This is one of the most requested videos by my subscribers and the one a lot of you have been waiting for. So here we go. I hope you enjoy it. I made it with a lot of love. So now for our feature presentation. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is a drama, horror, and thriller movie. And as I continue bringing my series on Bette Davis, if you're a fan of hers like I am, I have more videos with her in it right here on my channel. So please stay tuned because I'll also be bringing you some more soon. I create new videos weekly. This movie was released in the USA in 1942 and it stars both Miss Bette Davis and Miss Joan Crawford, two of my personal favorites. And it was directed by Robert Aldrich and it won 1 Oscar. The movie is about a former child star torments her paraplegic sister in their decaying Hollywood mansion. And now for some behind the scenes trivia and tidbits. These roles, Jane and Blanche, were very quintessentially Bette and Joan. Bette was once again playing the sharp-tongued, bitchy little whippersnapper, as she had already in movies like All About Eve. And Joan was playing the noble, long-suffering martyr character, just as she had in Mildred Pierce. It was sadist versus masochist again. They were perfectly matched. And although many people believe the film would be a flop, even on a budget of notably less than $750,000, it took just less than 11 days to go into profit and was one of 1962's biggest box office hits. And when production began, both Bette Davis and Joan Crawford were excited about the project. The budget was shoestring and the schedule was tight, but they were thrilled to go to work every day and trusted that Robert Aldrich would make a wonderful movie. And the cracked head of the Baby Jane doll featured prominently in the film's ad campaign was a completely different doll than the one that was actually used in the movie. Probably because the film was shot and released so quickly that the ad staff had to devise the campaign while the film was still in production. And the budget was so limited that the production wasn't able to use the usual process screenshots for Jane's driving scenes. Bette Davis did her own driving around Hollywood with cameraman Ernest Haller perched either in the back seat of the car or over the front fender in order to get the shots he needed. To this day, said Davis in 1987, I smile when I remember the first time Jane drove down Beverly Boulevard in an old Hudson. The expressions on the faces of people in other cars when they saw me were hysterical. Lots of mouths dropped. And exterior shots of the Hudson house was filmed at 172 South Macadam Place in Los Angeles. Right next door at 180 South Macadam Place is the house Judy Garland lived in during production of The Wizard of Oz in 1939. And Peter Lawford was originally set to play the part of Edwin Flagg, but 2 days after accepting the part, he withdrew due to family concerns. Lawford felt the character might reflect badly on his real-life role as brother-in-law of the current president, John F. Kennedy. Victor Buono was then cast as Edwin. Bette Davis originally objected to Buono's casting, but eventually came around. And the role of Liza Bates, the teenage daughter of the next-door neighbor, Mrs. Bates, was played by Barbara Merrill, credited as B.D. Merrill, daughter of Bette Davis, by her third husband, Grant Sherry. B.D. was adopted by Davis's fourth husband, Gary Merrill, at the age of 3, but dropped the last name at the age of 16, going by B.D. Sherry until her marriage in 1963 to Jeremy Hyman. And in scenes where Jane imitates Blanche's voice, the voice heard is actually Joan Crawford's voice and not Bette Davis, as Davis could not master Crawford's voice properly. And early on, Bette Davis made the decision to create her own makeup for Jane. What I had in mind, no professional makeup man would have dared to put on me, said Davis. One told me he was afraid that if he did what I wanted, he might never work again. Jane looked like many women one sees on Hollywood Boulevard. In fact, author Henry Farrell patterned the character of Jane after these women. One would presume by the way they looked that they once were actresses and were now unemployed. I felt Jane never washed her face, just added another layer of makeup each day. Davis garnished makeup made her look something akin to a grotesque version of an aging Mary Pickford gone to seed, and she loved it. She took pride when Farrell visited the set one day and exclaimed, "My God, you look just exactly as I pictured baby Jane." The outrageousness of Davis's appearance caused some concern for Aldrich and the producers, who feared it might be too over the top. However, as time went on, they came to see that Davis's instincts for the character were right. And the wig that Bette Davis wears throughout the film had, unbeknownst to both leads, been worn by Joan Crawford in an earlier MGM movie. Because it had been regroomed, Crawford didn't recognize it. And Davis's character of a deranged former child star Baby Jane Hudson, is widely believed to be based, at least partially, on former silent movie actress Mary Miles Minter. Minter's career ended abruptly in 1922 when press coverage suggested she was a prime suspect in the still unsolved murder of director William Desmond Taylor. Although she was never formally charged, Minter survived for decades afterwards as a progressively delusional recluse. And Bette Davis and Joan Crawford worked hard to promote the film, both knowing that their profit percentage points would pay off in spades with the film's success. Davis traveled to 17 theaters across the state of New York in 3 days for personal appearances and helped give away promotional Baby Jane dolls to patrons with a lucky envelope under their seat. And Joan Crawford was an avid collector of Margaret Keenan's Sad Eyes paintings and befriended the couple and tried to incorporate their work into her films. In the film, during the interior scenes of the neighbors' Mrs. Bates' house, several Keenan paintings can be seen displayed on the walls. Big Eyes can be seen by the entrance. And according to Bette Davis in her book, This and That, the film was originally going to be shot in color. Davis opposed this, saying that it would just make a sad story look pretty. And in her book, This and That, Bette Davis said that she had a lot of control over how her makeup should be done for the film. She imagined the older Jane as someone who would never wash her face, like I said previously, just put on another layer of makeup. When her daughter Barbara Merrill first saw her in full Jane makeup, she said, "Oh, mother, this time you've gone too far." And while touring the talk show circuit to promote the movie, Bette Davis told one interviewer that when she and Joan Crawford were first suggested for the leads in this film, Warner Brothers studio head Jack L. Warner replied, "I wouldn't give a plugged nickel for either one of those two old broads." Recalling the story, Davis laughed at her own expense. The following day, she reportedly received a telegram from Crawford. "In future, please do not refer to me as an old broad." The public was well aware of the long-standing feud between these two divas, so this was very much stunt casting meant to play off the real-life drama, and it worked. This movie was a critical and box office smash. They were meant to repeat this formula in their next movie, Hush, Sweet Charlotte, but problems with the director and Davis caused Joan to be replaced by Olivia de Havilland at the last minute. And because she was then a member of the Pepsi-Cola board of directors, Joan Crawford managed to see that product placement shots of the soft drinks appeared in all her later films. Although nearly imperceptible, Pepsi does show up in this one too. During the last sequence, a guy runs up to the refreshment stand on the beach and tries to collect the deposit on some empty Pepsi bottles, a transaction that actually only happened in stores. And this film is considered by many as Joan Crawford's last important picture. After this film, she was relegated to several lower budgeted horror films, including her last picture, Trog, in 1970. And despite her criticisms, Bette Davis did have some praise for Joan Crawford every now and then. She called Crawford a pro who was always on time and always knew her lines perfectly. She also saw some similarities between herself and Crawford. "I suppose we have the same drive," she told writer Whitney Stein. "She's a survivor, and so am I. And I suppose I do infuriate people the same way she does." Davis felt that Crawford's behavior was reasonably under control and suggested it was because, I suppose, she wanted to be as professional as I was. And Bette Davis was nominated for the Oscar for Best Actress for her performance in this movie. Had Davis won, it would have set a record number of wins for one actress. According to the book, Bette Davis and Joan, The Divine Feud by Sean Considine, Davis and Joan Crawford had a lifelong mutual hatred, and a jealous Crawford actively campaigned against Davis winning Best Actress, even telling Anne Bancroft that if Bancroft won and was unable to accept the award, she would be happy to accept it on her behalf. According to the book, on Oscar night, Davis was standing in the wings of the theater waiting to hear the name of the winner. When it was announced that Bancroft had indeed won for The Miracle Worker in 1962, Joan marched past Davis with barely an "excuse me" and swept on stage to accept Bancroft's Oscar.
Have you trouble? Somebody you love?
Oh, Jack, please try to understand. I married you because...
Heaven above, I've written, dear Daddy, we miss you and wish you were with us to love. Instead of a stamp, I put kisses. The postman says that's best to do. I wonder if you can guess who I am. I'm Baby Jane Hudson.
This is Blanche Hudson. What seems to be the trouble?
All right, Blanche Hudson. This big fat
You enjoy making a person look like 2 cents, don't you?
Lunch, Miss Hudson.
Well, get this straight. I don't like being made to look like 2 cents.
I was cleaning the cage. The bird got up. I'm sure we can find something appropriate for you, Miss Hudson. Oh! A liar. You're just a liar. You're just a liar. You always were. Then you could tell him a whole lot of lies about me. Scare him off. Or maybe have him for yourself. Oh, Blanche. You know we got rats in the cellar?
You wouldn't be able to do these awful things to me if I weren't still in this chair.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair. Oh, shut up!
I ran around with my own little crowd, the usual laughs, not often but loud. And in the world that I knew, I didn't know about you. Chasing after the ring on the merry-go-round, just taking my fun where it could be found. And yet what else could I do? I didn't know about you. Darling, now I know I had the loneliest yesterday. Every day in your arms, I know for once in my life I'm living, had a good time. Every time I went out, romance was a thing I kidded about. How could I know about love? I didn't know about you. Darling, now I know I had the loneliest yesterday. Every day in your arms, I know for once in my life I'm living, had a good time. Every time I went out, romance was a thing I kidded about. How could I know about love? I didn't know about you.
face and wear all them nice clothes. All them nice clothes like they wear. And I'll sit in them big hotels and they'll take pictures of me. When they have them openings, I'll go and talk on the radio and it won't cost me nothing because I'm in the picture. All them nice clothes like they wear. Because this guy says I'm a natural.
If you like that one, we've got a lot more. Hotter than your morning coffee.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back to see the next one. I'll be here waiting for you. If you enjoyed this, please kindly give me a like, share with others, comment below, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget you need to click on that notification bell so that you can be notified of every time I upload a new one. So thank you so very much for stopping by again and sharing this moment with me and this time that always passes by so quickly. I can't wait to do the next one for you. So until we meet again, please be safe and be blessed.